How you feeling these many months after?
Good. You know, it's fun. Well, that's a big topic, but I guess this couldn't be more appropriate of a title for us. You know what? I want to say things, but I feel like if I say them, they sound really corny. But like, I'm not mad that I didn't win.
Hey, I'm Derrick Fox, and you're watching A Bunch of Losers. My guest today is Michael Silverstein from MasterChef Season 10 and Runner-up MasterChef All-Stars. Michael, welcome to the Runner-up Club. We chat about all things behind the scenes, his cookbook, making it in this business, and so much more. Enjoy part one.
All right.
This is In the Dark with Derrick and Michael.
Michael, what's up, brother?
Hello. This is a long time coming.
We're podcasting in Austin. Man, I feel like I'm just moving up in the world.
Why is that?
Because all the big podcasts moved here.
I don't know. But that's the problem. I think Austin's kind of...
Dude, Austin's like expensive like LA now.
Yeah. It's wild.
It was $52 a day to park my car.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I remember when we were in LA last year, I was like, who the fuck do they think they are charging me $18 for like a cocktail and stuff? And then I got back to Austin and I was like, wait, it's $18 a cocktail. Here.
No, they're
like,
not all. There's
not all, no.
There's some places. I didn't spend that on cocktails.
No. Austin actually is like the best parts of Austin are actually like the dives, the holes in the walls of food trucks. Like all the fancy shit's overrated here.
Yeah. Although there is one restaurant that my buddy sent me, Hestia.
Yeah, Hestia.
Oh, that looked amazing.
Yeah, it's good.
Couldn't get in.
Yeah. That's the other problem. Like,
yeah,
you need like a reservation 2 months ahead.
So you know,
I'm not about it.
That's what happens when they blow up. Well, first of all, welcome to the Runner-up Club.
Hey, so close yet so far.
I know. How do you feel? How you feeling these many months after?
Good. You know, it's fun. Well, that's a big topic, but I guess this couldn't be more appropriate of a title for us. You know what? I want to say things, but I feel like if I say them, they sound really fucking corny. But like, I'm not mad that I didn't win.
Yeah.
There's other shit I'm mad about. But
for sure.
I'm not mad that I did. Whoa, we're getting right into the meat of it. I'm not mad that I didn't win, and I actually mean that. I think some people, you know, we're all winners. I'm not saying that, but like, I get why I didn't win for many, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not mad that I didn't win. And I think unlike a lot of people who do these competition shows, I did not really go to win.
Sure.
You know, even though that's sort of the point, I wouldn't have minded winning. Don't get me wrong. All right, no, like I'm not gonna say I didn't mind, but winning wasn't the main reason I went back. And
Okay.
I think I accomplished what I set out to.
Right.
Even without the trophy.
Okay.
You're I'm like, look, yeah.
Okay.
What are we allowed to talk about? How does this work?
Yo, I don't know. See, here's the thing. These episodes are like an hour and a half, so I think anyone that's checking up on what we're saying isn't listening long enough. So,
and yet we're diving into the first minute.
A lot of the meat that gets, you know, a lot of the meat in the middle. I don't know. They're not listening. I don't think they're listening. No one's called me yet. So
no,
and I've had Steven on.
Oh God, that was a fun one. He's a wild.
I had him
man.
on twice.
Yeah, he's a wild.
He's wild. Okay, well, let's go back. I want to talk about some MasterChef stuff.
Okay.
Where the first time you auditioned, it was season 10. Season 10. Yeah.
In New York.
You auditioned in New York.
I did. Well, sort of. I was like called to go to New York auditions.
And where were you living at the time?
In Pittsburgh.
You were in Pittsburgh.
Yes. So it was like a 7-hour drive. Something like that. 6-hour drive.
Ooh, so you had to drive your food 7 hours?
In a cooler, yeah.
Gross.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I did it the night before because they wanted me there at like 9 a.m. or something. So I made some duck the night before, slept at a friend's house, crisped up the skin.
Oh my God.
They were way up in Uptown by Columbia, like in Harlem.
Yeah.
Crisped up the skin and did my best to deal with it crispy. I mean, it's still fucking cold. By the time I served it, but
it doesn't stay crispy.
But yeah, I drove it to New York.
Okay, well, I want to ask you about the dish in a minute, but
yeah,
So tell me, like, what led up to you auditioning? Like, why MasterChef? Were you a fan of MasterChef?
Interesting.
Were you like, was it out of desperation, or you just wanted to change your life? Like, what was
Yeah.
the caveat to the catalyst to auditioning?
Um, I think I have a bit of a strange path to this.
Okay.
I didn't
Ooh.
exactly choose this. So actually, I worked in. I completely gave up on my dream of a chef like about 10 years ago, actually.
So you wanted to be a chef long before
My whole
Master.
life. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. My first job at 13, illegally in the back of an Italian restaurant. This was my world growing up as a kid, and worked through high school, through college, and into my 20s. At 25, was out. Like I for a couple reasons, I was burnt out, but I sort of got to a point where I was like, what's the end game here? Like, what am I just going to be working till 2 a.m., making crap money, being treated like shit? Like, I couldn't see building a life as a soldier like that, the way that I had been exposed to that space. And
Okay.
I didn't really see the out. And I think
So you were cooking in kitchens in Philadelphia?
in Pittsburgh,
Pittsburgh?
yeah, and DC.
Okay.
Growing up in
That's
DC.
where you grew up in DC.
And
Okay.
and I just didn't really see, and I think also it's some of my own shit. You know, I think culturally for me, the way that I was raised, like being a chef isn't as admired or something as like a doctor or a lawyer. Kind of that. I don't know. I guess I felt a bit of shame around it or something. Like it wasn't
Good enough.
it wasn't good enough, or
Got it.
I wasn't good enough, and that was my own shit. And so, you know, I battled a lot in my life with insecurity and self-doubt, and I just didn't see myself good enough for being able to build a life around this.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
And so I left. I got my real estate license and started as a real estate agent, and quickly discovered a new passion in my life around like interior design and construction, and ended up like going into flipping houses. And
Yeah. Well, I mean,
bought-
you're good at it. Your house is
Thanks.
beautiful
Yeah,
inside. and-
thanks. I love real estate too. And I'm actually working on a couple projects here in Austin as well. It's kind of my side hustle.
Are you building me a house?
Yeah, if you want. But you know, I had discovered another passion in my life around design, and felt like maybe this was something I could do with it. But I always had this hole, if I'm being honest. Like, you know, I think a lot of people feel this, people who might be more into an art in their career, where it's like, how do I successfully build a life around this? Can I do this? People who want to be actors, singers, and you get to a point, and that's where I was. Like, I was 25, and I'm like, I'm watching my friends getting these, you know, 6-figure salary jobs and taking vacations, and I just didn't. I felt lost. That this got heavy, but I felt lost, and sort of walked away from the one thing that I really wanted to do my entire life, because I just thought it wasn't
Interesting.
gonna work.
So then, how old were you when you auditioned for MasterChef?
30. So cut 5 years.
5 years.
I'm working in real estate, but secretly fucking miserable.
Okay.
Like I'm doing a cool thing, but it wasn't who I was meant to be. And over the course of those 5 years, I gained about 100 and something pounds.
Wow.
From 25 to 30. By 30, I was 330 something pounds. Like I was a depressed, miserable person. And I'm not trying to say that someone who's 330 pounds should feel miserable, because that wasn't it. It was inside. The
Sure.
outside was reflecting the inside for me.
Right. But also, I mean, when you're not healthy, you are going to feel miserable, and it's going to compound onto anything else
Right.
that is going on.
Yeah.
But you weren't 300 pounds on MasterChef.
No.
So-
no.
So
So that's where this all started. So it's a long story, and I'm
we got
sorry
all
if I
the
went all
time.
the way back.
No.
But like, you know, so I hit 30, I'm depressed, I'm unhealthy inside and out. And I sort of hit a very rock bottom moment in my life where I'm trying not to get emotional, but I hit a rock bottom moment in my life where I was like, I have to change. This isn't the person that I want to be.
Yeah.
And I started cooking, like just at home for
Okay.
myself, and taking back the thing that I love and using it not for business, not for career,
Right.
but for a tool, and started creating healthier food that still inspired me, and it was for nobody but me. Like I just did it at my house and started discovering like how good I felt cooking like low carb and keto food, again just for me. And my fiance was like, you know, this might actually kind of help somebody. Like what if you like made an Instagram account and shared this food? And I was like, no, why? Like, I've never dreamed of television. I'm actually kind of like an introvert and kind of
Which
a
is wild, 'cause
loner.
you're wildly good on TV.
Thanks, you too. It's a weird part of my life, but I just started it was an anonymous Instagram account. I think it was called Keto Homemade. I started sharing my keto food, not with no pictures of me, nothing about my name, where I'm from, just food photos. Of like really sexy, chefy food that was like also kind of keto, and nobody had really done that before. And like within a couple months, it was like, you know, I think I might have hit about 10K followers.
Wow.
And that's when I was approached by the casting team who'd found me. They reached out to me. They emailed me.
I have chills.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
They emailed me, hey, can we talk? And I'm like, talk about what? Got on the phone. I'll never forget it, like sitting at my desk and this like unknown number that said Los Angeles, California popped up on my phone. And like 3 days later, I'm in New York City cooking for Gordon's team.
Wow.
Yeah. So, man, that's a way too long of an answer to your question
it's
of
a
like,
good
how did
answer.
this happen?
But that's what this is all about. That's what people want to know. It's like,
yeah.
they're like, everyone has their own like reason and the thing that pushes them into auditioning for these types of reality shows. And a lot of it is comes from a place of where like, I need change. I need to do something different. Like for me, it was also similar to that. I was in a tough place. The band I was playing music with was falling apart, and I didn't have like hardly any money. And like 6 months before that, I was living on a friend's couch, and it was just like, you audition, and like I didn't even want to audition. Like I was getting, all my friends were saying, you need to go on a cooking show. You don't need to go on a cooking show. And I'm like, no, like I play drums. Like I'm in LA. I moved my whole life to LA to make it as a drummer.
Yeah.
And then one day I was like, fuck it, I'll audition. And then I sent an email, and 20 minutes later they called me. Yeah. So I get it. No,
I mean, sometimes we need that. I hate that. I hate that sometimes we need to hit rock bottom to like know where to climb up.
Right.
You know? And it's not some triumphant story for me where it's like, oh, like I was this like, you know, always this amazing cook or always had these aspirations. I didn't. And I think that as I fell into this television moment the first time on season 10, I didn't feel like I belonged. I still hadn't found that confidence. And even though by the time I got to season 10, like that year from 30 to, I think I was 32 on season 10. So over those 2 years, I was losing weight, lost 80 something pounds, and got to season 10. Even though I feel like I should have had confidence, I think that my insecurity is what held me back. I didn't feel like I belonged there. And it showed, and that's why I didn't do very well on season 10, frankly. I mean, I was 15th out of 20, which, okay, that's still something to be proud of. You know, that still beats out thousands of people. But but in my mind, I was still small. And if you watch season 10, especially compared to 12, you can see, like, I was the quiet guy in the back because that's who I was. Okay. Like, when you're insecure, when you're heavy, when you don't believe in yourself, whatever your reason might be, you try to stay in the back. You want to be ignored. You don't want to be pointed at, you know? Right. And I was that kid and that chubby kid in high school that wasn't good at sports, that never fit in. And like being that person and standing on a TV set, it's like, oh no, let these big personalities, they are the ones who belong here. The ones who want this attention, the ones who like, that's their, I don't belong here. And I stayed quiet in the back. And unfortunately, the quiet guy in the back isn't going to last long on a TV show. No. Whether or not you're the best cook there. And that's what happened.
Yeah, I think that's pretty crazy. I think also because like I don't know you as like a shy, quiet guy. So but like and also like casting producers, like it's almost like they'll write you out if they're not getting what they need.
Right.
Like this, like story producers and all of them, if they're not getting what they need, then they'll write you out.
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, it's a cooking show, but like, yeah, it's TV first. I mean,
Dude,
you have to make good
And
TV.
it's gotten so like, I watched Drink Masters on Netflix.
Mm,
I think you'll love this show.
yeah, okay.
Because it actually made me feel even lesser of a chef watching what these guys are doing with cocktails. It was insane. I got to get some of them on this podcast, but knowing, what we're doing when we're cooking or when these guys are making drinks, like if you go back and you think of like some of the early cooking competition shows, it was so much more about the food. Now you barely see us cook this food. And it's like they talk to us and then it appears in front of Gordon Ramsay. And it's like, well, how did you get there?
Right.
It's like, and they piece it together with interviews and it's just like, it's become not fun.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with, of course, I agree with what you're saying. But when I recently watched early MasterChef episodes just out of curiosity. And
Yeah.
like, I mean, this is no shade. Like, but like, man, the first few seasons, some of those people were really bad.
So bad.
Like, really bad.
I know.
And like, I'm sorry to say that, but also food culture has changed, and like, there's a lot of reasons. I'm sure. Well, for me to assume that, I'm not saying the people are bad, but the way that these shows are set up is like, and this isn't a MasterChef thing. I think this is true across all food television. Is you are not set up to cook your best. You are not set up to succeed. And I think one of the hard parts about me and going back to season 10, why I got really uncomfortable on season 10, and it also caused me to not want to go back when they called me for season 12, which is a whole other conversation, is because I do not feel like these shows make us look our best. I think, when you work in a restaurant, even if you fucking hate each other, even if you still want the food to be good, everybody still wants the customers to be happy. It does,
Yeah.
there is a team energy and general consensus of like, yo, let's make sure we can be screaming and shit, but like at the end of the day, we need to serve good food.
Yeah. Although there are chefs out there that will sabotage.
Sure.
Because I've had it happen to me.
Sure. But like, generally speaking, I think people want to have the same end result, which is a successful service. On a TV show, the trouble is that secretly, okay, like we could be best friends.
Yeah.
And we kind of became best friends through this experience. And the way that you and I encouraged each other to cook well was very rare, because generally speaking, the only people we get to connect with are each other's cast. But when we're cooking, it doesn't particularly help me if you cook particularly well. And the production
doesn't help anyone.
It doesn't help anyone. And the production doesn't particularly want me to cook very well, because cooking is kind of boring.
They need fire. They need meltdowns.
Yeah. I kind of think of it as disaster television.
Yeah, and like I get that. I mean, I get it. I think it's like where they're failing the viewers is, and this is gonna kind of sound bitter, but it's challenges like The Wall. Like that has nothing to do with cooking, and I've done the deep dive just to see what people are saying, and like everyone's like, why this challenge? Like this doesn't make any sense, and it really upsets the viewers. And I wish I could see the ratings of the show like from that episode to the next episode.
Yeah,
because I mean like that show Cutthroat Kitchen. It's like you can go like take your competitors' knives away and replace it with a screwdriver.
Right.
Like
it's disaster television.
It's just
yeah.
Like,
and you see amazing talent that comes. Like there's amazing people from our season and from lots of television that don't look their best, not because they're not good cooks in real life, but because the structure, like you're saying with The Wall, the structure of the show is designed to put you in scenarios that aren't
right.
They aren't real.
Yeah, they're not real.
Like I'm okay with that because I understand the job. The job is to do television. The job, is not just to cook. But like, I find that part of it really frustrating as a perfectionist, as someone who's hyper worried about like quality control. And then it's like, give us time to plan a decent menu and we'll give you good food, but set us up for failure and you're going to get failure.
Right. And also when it's a competition, like when there's stakes, it's like, like I came back to fucking win. Like I came back to set the record straight.
Right.
And then, when I'm watching like Christian's enchilada, like they didn't even talk about it. Like that was a bowl of diarrhea. Like why did they not pull him up and put him in the bottom 3 at all with that? It looked, I mean, he was right behind me. I looked at it.
Yeah.
Like, and then when like he got birria tacos and he was like, Gordon's about to ask him and he's turning back to me and he's like, what is birria tacos? I was like, you and I don't like each other and you want info from me right now? I was like, fuck off.
Yeah.
That was so annoying. So annoying. Anyway, getting a little PTSD there.
Yeah. Well, and like, I guess that's the other side to my point is like there are times when they can make people look not as good as they really are, but conversely, they can take people and hype them on things that aren't really good.
Right.
If they want to.
And the hard part, yeah, and the hard part is that you tend to believe like when they're saying, like, for instance, his dishes that like weren't good, but then he got praised. He now believes like that gummy bear beer sauce. Like that was such bullshit. There's no way that tasted good. There's no way.
No. We know that.
So
I mean, there's things we know that we.
So why that part you become like?
But it's not his fault.
No, it's not. But what I'm saying
because
is
of
now,
what you're saying, because they praised it.
That once you get praised for something that you're insecure about, then you start believing that you're better, or opposite, maybe you're worse. If you're getting knocked down and kicked out, you're like, am I not, like, who am I? It's like, don't read the comments, right? Because like when people are like, you're so good, you're amazing, blah blah blah, but then there's also people that are trash talking you. It's like, what do you believe? It's like, don't listen to any of it because you're gonna make yourself think you're something that you're not. Or I don't know what I'm trying to say. I just I know when I came off of season 6, I had so many people wanting to book me for dinners, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And they're like, you're an amazing chef. I'm like, I don't think so. And I had to figure it out, But then, but with that, it was like, I'm not gonna listen to them. I know what is good, and I got to get there. And so I just worked really hard. Every new client I had, I would put something on the menu that I hadn't cooked before, and challenge myself to make a dish that pushed me further as a chef. And
I mean, we have to keep pushing ourselves, and the one, I don't think either of us have been to culinary school, right?
Nope.
And that I think that there's a lot of shame around that, and for some people, and I kind of went through that, like, do I deserve this or whatever? And then I realized culinary school is one way. It's an academic way to become a culinarian, but it's not the only way. But I bring it, go ahead.
Also, with culinary school, though, that's literally just
It's
throwing
academics.
it's throwing money away.
It's academics.
You have everything's online. You can go learn everything that they teach in culinary school. You can even order the books. I've ordered some of the books.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I totally agree with that. And you could say that about any degree, right? But there's something about being with a teacher, and I don't totally agree with that in its entirety, but I don't think it's the only way to become a legitimate chef, because I also know people who went to culinary school who are not good.
Dude, I worked at this restaurant, and there was this kid. He was fresh out of culinary school, and he could not cut an avocado.
Yeah.
Watching him work this avocado,
100%.
He butchered it. When he got done, and it was for an avocado toast, and it was like guacamole in his hands by the time he got done with it. It was like, you went to culinary? What did they teach you?
Well, because it's an art, and you could go to art school and never make it as an artist. You can go to culinary school and never make it as a chef.
Sure.
Or but then there's Dara, none of it.
But then there's Dara, who's gone, and she.
Well, because that's my point. Because if you have it, you have it. Mm-hmm. You don't need school to tell you that. You can learn the academics. You can learn, conversion rates and yada yada yada, all the French sauces and things that you can learn online or not. But it's an art. So if you have it, you have it. You don't need school. And it took me a minute to let go of my imposter syndrome because of that alone. And I incurred, I started a whole new career at 33 years old.
Yeah, and it's going well.
And it's going well, I guess. I mean,
2 cookbooks.
Yeah, but I want people to know that I gave up on my dream and found it again 10 years later. And that's okay. And my path to it was completely abnormal. There's no textbook that will tell you to do what I did.
Right.
To quit and get lucky and like I don't know. It's a weird space to be in, this culinary world, and I'm realizing right now how this conversation has flown off the fucking handles for 10 different topics. But yeah, it was interesting going back to MasterChef and seeing people there who had been to culinary school and realizing to myself that like, oh yeah, like the people who've been to culinary school are not any better than the people who hadn't.
No, and
There's
honestly,
no tie into that.
What annoyed me the most in it, at first, I was discouraged by it because like I didn't know anyone after my season because I couldn't watch it. Every time I turned it on, I would be an emotional wreck. So I couldn't watch MasterChef after not winning, losing.
Yeah.
So
hashtag drama.
yeah. So when I'm hearing like Samantha and other people, like before we even got our aprons, and there's like all these people talking about all this shit and like different temperatures that sugar does different things, and then they're talking about, I'm just like, where am I right now? Like what? Like am I good enough to be here? And then you see them make food, and you're like, what is all that shit you were talking? Because that looks terrible.
Yeah, I'm trying not to put my foot in my mouth, but it was interesting being
I'll
back.
say it. Do you want to text it to me? I'll say it.
No, I don't. I don't. I actually. Okay, I just think that it was interesting to, like you're saying, there was different kind of cliques that formed, and I always feel like on MasterChef specifically, like the real fucking reality show was the hotel.
God, if they could have been in the hotel in the green room,
the fucking yeah.
What was the girl's name that tried to sneak somebody in, and then she cooked her she cooked her pasta for like 45 minutes? Katara?
Oh, Katora. Katora, yeah.
Snuck somebody in.
She had a rough run. she had a rough run there.
She was like,
I like Katora though.
She was catty corner.
Cool.
She was catty corner to my room. It was one day we were getting escorted by the Wranglers, and she was like, I can see by your walk. She's like, you and I are gonna be in the finale. I looked at her. I was like, okay. Like
she was with me on season 10, and we had a good time together.
Oh, she was on 10.
Yeah, she was on 10 with me. We had a good time. She's a character. I mean, she's a big personality.
God. Oh my God.
And she probably didn't play her cards right on this particular season, but
it was really interesting.
She's actually a fascinating woman.
Yeah, it was really interesting that, like, because she would stay in her room, right? So she was like, that was cool. I respected that. I was like, I'm not going to talk to anybody. I'm going to just, play my cards close to the vest. And then she tries like sneaking somebody in. Like, why would you jeopardize the entire fucking
bubble?
Production? Yeah, that was crazy to me. I don't know what she was thinking.
I think people. I'm not speaking about what she did. I think that some people felt like, and maybe let me see your thoughts on this, because I think some people felt like, even though there weren't cameras in the hotel, that we were being watched and we were being assessed at all times.
At all times. No, we are.
So you think we are?
I can 100%.
Like that the Wranglers, everything's paying attention.
And that's why I was so pissed also about Christian, because the way he was treating the Wranglers, the way he was ignoring the rules, the way he wouldn't line up to the last fucking second, like all those things. Like I watched castmates on season 6 get written off because of the way they were acting. Like a certain person did not like.
So are you saying you think that that was a way of?
They're always like, they're taking notes on what cast is doing, and they're reporting back every night to production
at all times.
At all times, they're taking notes. So I think these Wranglers this time were a little loose, and not
as
always,
long as we kept quarantine rules,
right? But they weren't. I don't think they were doing as much as they were supposed to be doing it. But like, yeah, they were always because you're representing this brand post the show, right? So if you're gonna win, like they need to make sure that you're gonna like represent always around the country. I feel like, and
interesting, yeah.
So I don't know, but I definitely think that.
Well, and I bring it up as to say that I think some people continued. I think some people put on an act, let's just say that, the entire time, on and off set, is what I'm trying to say. I think some people thought that behaving a certain way, whether their strategy was good, bad, dramatic, whatever, they just thought that, and what maybe they were right or wrong. We'll never know. We can't.
Sure.
We can't A/B
It's
test
only-
this.
yeah.
But like, if they acted a certain character to get through on the show, then they felt like they had to act that way at all times. And I think that gets you into that can go so far.
Yeah.
But there's a certain point, like you're saying, where at some point the brand's gonna say
no.
this ain't it.
Yeah.
Like it'll get you so far. And I do feel that the majority of the people who made it in the top 10, top 5, whatever you want to say, were pretty real people and could really cook.
Yeah. 9 of the 10.
Yeah. 9 out of 10.
God. Anyway, I'll stop shit talking. Maybe. I feel like
It's your podcast. You do whatever you want.
Yep. I feel like also, and this is my own speculation because we know in the rules. Gordon Ramsay can change the rules at any time. It's the last fucking line of the contract.
Yep.
I think he saw how much the MasterChef fans fell in love with me more when I didn't win, and I think that there was some kind of strategy to sending me home. I think that, like, I don't know. I feel like because
I agree. I think there's strategy to everything.
Yeah, there is strategy to everything.
Single thing.
Yeah, and I also wasn't supposed to go as far as I did in season 6. I'll tell you this. So there was this guy Dan. Do you remember watching season 6? And there was a guy Dan, and then all of a sudden there wasn't. So some people will know about Dan. Dan was this handsome.
Oh, I think he's in Austin.
No, he's in. I think he's in.
Is that the guy who's a golfer?
No.
Okay.
I think he's in Chicago or Minnesota.
Okay,
Or
anyway.
he's somewhere.
I don't know that much.
He's somewhere in the North Midwest. So Dan is this handsome fucking model, but he's also a scientist. Like, he's smart as fuck. And Hethel was all over him all the time. She loved him. All the girls did. It was kind of obnoxious, right? Like,
Okay.
because they were just like, oh my God, he's smart and handsome. They were all over him. Well, him, like yourself and myself, like, we understand contracts. And I'd seen a ton of contracts before going on MasterChef, but they tell you no amendments, right? Well, Dan ignored that and made amendments. He had his lawyer make amendments to the contract. He signed it and sent it back in.
Yeah, that's not legal.
No, they never looked.
Yeah, but that's not legally binding because it wasn't mutually agreed upon.
No, but
the show didn't see it, but even if
right,
it wouldn't have been binding no matter what.
But if he would have gone all the way and won, they would have been fucked. So we were halfway through the season. We're headed to Vegas. The vans keep pulling over. The van pulls over, and Dan's getting his phone because we didn't get our phones. They took all of our phones
same
away.
with 10.
So Dan we keep pulling over. We have 2 buses of people. And Dan gets out with the Wranglers. They're all surrounded. And we're in the middle of the desert, right? Like middle of the highway of the desert. Like, we're stopping and he's getting on the phone. And we're like, what's going on? And they're like, hard ice. And we're like, we're in the middle of the desert and Dan's got his phone. Where's our phones? Like, we were being bitches, right? And so then
You being a bitch?
we get never. We get back in the van. We drive another 20 minutes and we pull over again. And Dan's out on his phone again. And they're like, and this time we pulled at a rest stop. And they're like, go inside and get snacks, whatever. So we're all wondering what the fuck's happening. We finally get to Vegas and Yaz comes down. And Yaz is like, Dan, we need you to re-sign your contract. Now, what happened was Dan kept asking about his contract. He's like, I haven't got my contract back. And Yaz took that as a red flag and called legal.
Had them review it.
And was like, can you look at Dan's
Something's
contract? He keeps asking for his contract. And I said,
Right.
Here, you can look at this one. And he's like, no, I need mine. If he wouldn't have said anything, dude, he would have made it all the way to the end without and Yaz told me, she's like, this contract would have.
So they kicked him out.
Well, no, he wouldn't re-sign. And so then he left. They were like, you have to re-sign or you're done. And so it was like, Gordon was like, Dan had a family emergency. Regret to see him go.
Interesting.
But he would have gone all the way. He would have been the finale. I think I was like B story, C story, and then, but they also also back then there was no frame of reference of how good we were with food. My food wasn't all over the internet. Like now, all of our food's all over the internet.
Right.
You can see how good someone can be, if whatever.
There's a ton of context.
Right. There was no context of what I could do, and then all of a sudden, challenge after challenge, I'm doing this like artistic food, and they're like, "Sweet, we got the guy." Like even more so than Dan, but like they liked Dan because Dan was this handsome model and tall.
You're
and
handsome too.
A bear and a fox.
The bear and the fox.
What were we gonna do with that? We were talking about something about that. The bear and the fox.
An OnlyFans channel?
Is that your an OnlyFans channel? Dude, I'm getting close. Just my ass in an apron.
Oh, yeah, I brought you a little sticker.
Dude, this is so cool.
It's my little logo.
I love this.
It's hiding in my phone case.
Let me hold it
water
up.
bottle sticker.
Dude. That's fucking brilliant.
This is my little logo. My friend drew it for me. She's so cute.
That's so
Thank
good.
you, Tess.
There's this guy on TikTok that plays drums, and he's insane. He's an insane drummer. And he'll play some of the hardest songs imaginable, and he'll play them with one hand, and his logo is a beard and a mohawk guy, and then
that's cool.
drumsticks are sticking up out like a skull. And so the beard is very similar, but dude, I love this.
I trimmed my beard. It's not as long. It was longer on the show.
Yeah, I love it.
I went through the Texas summer. And
I can have this?
short. Yeah, it's for you.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I got some new merch.
I know. I love how it has the tattoos on the alien too.
And I went and got this one where it says "From Above." I went and got that tattoo right
cool.
here.
Nice. Nice.
Yep, available at epicmegacookie.com.
I watched a couple of these go on. I was with you here.
Yep,
The heart
that one.
and the bull. Yeah.
I almost did yesterday. I was gonna go get another one, and I was just too tired. I was like,
Yeah. we got into a lot of fun last time you were here.
dude, that was awesome. We fucked Austin up, and we weren't even on TV yet. I mean, we were.
No, we were.
No, the new season hadn't aired.
We had filmed it.
Yeah.
That's how we know it. Yeah.
But it hadn't. So, like, Austin didn't even know what we were doing.
Yeah. I think this podcast was such a good idea for so many reasons, obviously. But like, I think it's showing people, like reading the comments and stuff. I think it's showing people a much better look at who you really are, and not that the show didn't show who you really are, but it's just so limited. Like you mentioned this early. Like, you mentioned that there's so limited actual cooking, but I actually think there's a real limited amount of really showing who we are, and
it's a real limited amount of everything.
It's just everything is just cut down. It's just
yeah.
so it has to be. But we film, it takes what 8 hours of filming or more for a single episode, and it's cut down to like 40 minutes.
Right.
And like, one of the things that beyond the food or anything is I feel like there are parts of us, cast members in general, but I'll talk about us too since we're here, that are more complex and more nuanced than the show was able to capture. There's parts of my life that I'm not able to share any of the context of how I became who I am and that journey for me. Like the show did a good job of saying like, oh, Mike came back to prove he was better than season 10 and I had this redemption arc. But to me, that's a pretty surface level story because that plays into much more of a redemption arc in my entire life. Like the way that I found my confidence as a human ties into all this. They didn't capture that at all. They didn't capture any of my gayness at all. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Like, you don't find out till the very end at the finale that I'm married to a man.
Yeah.
They completely eliminated that part of my life.
Wild.
Which annoys me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's who I am. And I want people to see that part of who I am.
Well, and it's funny too that you say that because I didn't, immediately I did not know. And then after talking with you for a little bit, and then I was like, oh, okay, cool. But yeah, you wouldn't guess it. Now maybe with these nails.
Bright pink fingernails.
But see, I'm straight and I got...
Yeah, that means nothing.
It means nothing. Yeah. I love that more guys are starting
to
paint their nails too, because like on Drink Masters, there's a lot of dudes that had their nails painted and stuff. I think it's fun. It's just like expression. Like who gives a fuck, right? Like, but yeah, I'm sorry for you on that they didn't highlight it more.
Well, and that's one facet, and it it hurts because they really did it on season 10. But like I brought the sass into the interview rooms, and they never really show. I think. Like, you could say the same thing about almost all of us. Like, I would love to hear what Willie said in those
I know.
interview rooms for hours at a time. You know he was dropping gems.
Oh, my God.
Like, you know he was serving
I know.
the best of the best. And I think he got...
Well-
I'm mad Willie didn't get more airtime. I
Yeah.
think he's just a wonderful human and a big personality. And I think that got put... as like, I don't know what how'd you call it, like a B level or something? Like,
Yeah,
I just don't
just
think he
pushed
was
down in
made.
the
Yeah, I don't
storyline.
think he was made as big of a member of the cast as he should have been, and that sucks because he's a special guy.
He is special. And also back to talking about your gayness. They could have it's one of those things that, like, when they don't support or show that or tell that side of your story, they're missing out on the opportunity to inspire the younger person out there.
And that's all it is.
That looks like you,
Yeah.
feels like you,
Yeah.
but doesn't know how to
Yeah.
express themselves.
No, that you just hit the nail on the head. So let me just say one thing. I'm not just like trying to cover my ass because I actually mean this. Like, the show and the producers genuinely accept who I am. I don't believe that they were trying to
Yeah, it wasn't malicious.
straightwash me because they like there's other gay personalities that were on the show that were very much made a part of it. And when I tell you how hard the show fought to make sure that Jacob, my partner, was at the finale,
was
they went
amazing.
way out of their way to make sure that he was there and said, like, we cannot have, they physically said to me, like, we cannot have this finale without your other half.
Yeah.
It's an important part of who you are. And that was fine. But I think the reason that I was what I kind of think straight washed in the edit is because there were other gayer people that filled that role. And I think that television has a really difficult time showing nuance. I think it's easier for television shows. This is not a MasterChef thing. I think this is a television thing. Scripted, unscripted, reality, whatever you want to call it. I think it's true across the board. I think shows like creating caricatures or personalities of people that are very easy to digest in 2 or 3 words. And there were other people on the show who were the gay ones. And so it just wasn't a part. My 3 words or whatever was like, my box was like, oh, the guy who did the worst on his season that came back, right? Like I was the underdog. I was the one here for redemption because...
Right, because they didn't even focus on your keto either, did they?
No. None of that.
Yeah.
They didn't show any of my kind of story as a human. It was just, oh, you went home too early last time. You're the underdog. And you keep beating runners up and you keep beating finalists episode after episode after episode. That was all I was to them.
Mm-hmm.
Not as a human. The producers were amazing with me.
Yeah.
But the way the show was written,
Right.
everybody got a box.
Yes.
And you were on a mission because you got second place and should have won. And everybody kind of had their story.
Did you hear that? Should have won. I didn't say it.
No, I said that was your
No,
story.
I know.
No,
I know.
But, I just don't think it was a part of the nuance of who I am that mattered to the story that they were telling. That's all I mean by that. And it bothers me, and I'm getting fired up because I think it's frustrating that television likes to show, for instance, gay men a very specific way that is, and there's nothing wrong with that specific way, but that's one sort of archetype of what a gay man is.
Right.
Or you're a drag queen or a twink or a femme or whatever, but you're put in boxes, and I just don't fit any of those boxes. Like
Sure.
my whole life, I've never been gay enough to really fit in with gay men, and I'm not straight enough to really fit in with straight guys. And so I sort of embody a complexity that we all, like, everybody has complexity.
Well, and I think that's the problem with boxes, right?
Well, I think there's a difference between wanting diversity, and I don't mean that, I mean, yes, in terms of race, but diversity of thought, age, every metric. And what I'm talking about, which is dumbing people down to a simpler form, like like devolving people to a very simple version of themselves. And everybody has nuance and complexity. They aren't just their sexuality or their race or their gender. Like, we are more than that. Like, yes, I as a gay Jewish white man or whatever you want to say, for me, and I'm just speaking of me, but I am those things if you want to look at me in a really simplified way, but like there's also a complex story and a complex relationship within those things.
Right.
And
TV's
television
like,
doesn't have the time for
no,
that.
they don't have the time
They
for
just
it.
they don't have the time to deal with
And then
that.
they also, you can always see
I like
when
the titty adjustment.
I'm actually stretching my back. I'm having like this tight shoulder. So anyway,
we need to do a little stretch.
Forgot.
You were just like
Didn't even realize I was gay. Now I lost my train of thought.
You know I'm gay.
I know I'm gay.
Watching you play with your titties.
When did you know you were gay?
Oh God, very young.
Yeah?
Yeah, very young. Very young, actually.
You want to share that? Like when you figured it out?
Sure. So I don't know a specific age. I think it's also complex. So I had a bit of a weird relationship with that because there's when I remember coming out, or when I remember thinking at a very young age, probably, I would say 5th, 6th grade, I just started realizing that something was different than the other boys I was hanging with. Like the way they were starting to talk about girls was different, and you just sort of start to feel different.
Yeah.
Even before you're physically attracted to the other gender, your body is starting to like form. So I would say for me, I started noticing something was different very young, but I also thought I was bi for a really long time, only because I didn't really want to believe I was not at all straight or something. To me, like being bi felt, and I'm not trying to devalue anyone who's bisexual. I'm just saying in my journey, to me, being bi felt easier to digest, because then I was like, oh, I can still have my white picket fence and a wife and kids that I'm told is the societal goal if I'm bi.
Right.
I can like it just for me was
It felt like you felt like you could please the generations above before you.
Yeah, and sort of fit into society if I was bi. So then I was sort of in my head like bi until I was maybe 16, and then I realized I was like, no, that's a lie. Once I had like sort of really
Did you have
fallen?
Did you have a moment with a girl that you were like, nope?
No, so it's funny.
Never...
Actually, I had a girlfriend in high school for a pretty long time.
That's so crazy. I couldn't even picture you with a girl.
She's cool, man. We talked about it a lot. We stayed in touch. She's cool. But that wasn't. Again, I think a lot, and you'll find this a lot with gay men who've had female relationships, and I think your mind is incredibly capable of hiding and covering up truths if it's easier, like sort of a deep sense of denial and a deep sense of avoidance. If you feel like you're wrong for who you are fundamentally, it's pretty easy to hide that. And that's why you'll have people who live their whole lives living a lie, because they just can't let themselves live their truth. And that's really sad. I found out years later that as a very young child, so I'm super ADHD, I've battled this since I'm a young kid, and went through a lot of psychological work as a child to help deal with this, because I was really almost incapable of functioning. Like I kept getting almost kicked out of school at a very young age. Just like I couldn't deal with like just sitting still and being a functional child. And I found out years later that at like 8 or 9 years old, I must have told, I have no memory of this, but I must have told my child psychiatrist at a very young age that I don't even remember that I liked boys or that I was gay or something. Because when I came out to my parents at 16, they were like, yeah, we know.
Interesting.
Like your psych told us like
10
8 years ago or something. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, wow. Way to
You're like, could you have informed me? I wouldn't have like broke this girl's heart.
What are you talking about? So
I've been trying to date girls for the last year.
So there's like my memory of it, but apparently at a very young age, I must have articulated something at a very, very young age, long before you would think you would would.
Sorry, did you hear my back? When
I did. But I've been out basically forever. And so, for me, my identity is just who I am. I think there are times when my feminine side is very apparent. There are times when my masculine side is very apparent. And it's one of the things that I love about myself is that I don't fit I don't necessarily fit every box.
Yeah.
And that's also created trouble for me in life. Like I said, sometimes I feel like I just don't really fit fully into any normalized group. I don't have a ton of gay male friends.
Carve your own path.
Yeah, carve my own, yeah.
What else should we? I kind of want to share with everyone listening and watching about how, like, we created a point system.
This has never been discussed. Oh, this has never been discussed.
We had a point system where we were literally
just me and you knew. Yeah, what was my point?
It was your point system.
I built a whole algorithm.
But when you did. I'm like jumping on the bandwagon here, trying to take a partial piece of credit.
It was like weed. I'm like, hold on a second.
No, Michael came up with that fucking algorithm.
Enough I shared it with you. No, I'm just kidding. But it was so fucking accurate.
Dude, it was wild. It was like we were sitting in the back of the bus going, guess who's going home today? We were like looking at it. We're tallying up points.
Yep.
I think what I did is I helped you remember who I was.
Sure.
Whatever. But we'd sit back there and we'd go, this person's going home today, and sure fucking enough, like it would happen. It was wild.
No, it was weird. And it
only got really weird when I went home because that was not on the playing card.
No, things started to get things got a little weird at top 10.
Yeah.
And the deeper it went, things got a little sus, let's just say. But the algorithm.
You had an amazing algorithm. Break it down for us.
It was a spreadsheet full of equations that essentially tracked everybody's performance in a point system that I basically just came up with. It was like you got 1 point. God,
I can tell you, it was 1 point for top 3. It was 2 points for winning the challenge, and then
half a point if you were on a winning team challenge.
And then
a point for winning as a captain, and so you got the extra half a point if you won as a captain.
And then you would lose a point if you were in bottom 3. And then it would be nothing middle of the road.
Nothing middle of the road. Yeah.
So
it was actually it was pretty simple, but the way that it started working,
it was wild. It was wild watching it.
Wild.
Like, we knew Gabe was going home the day Gabe went home.
No, we and there were some days where it was like 2 people are equal points, and we're like, it's going to be him or her today.
Yep.
And it was weird. And I was like, am I it was so accurate that it started making me question like the whole thing.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Like I was like, wait, is this really like? Is there even a like? Does the cooking even?
Dude,
matter?
I tested it. I don't know if I should say this.
It's weird. I mean, this is I'm saying nothing. Nobody prevented me from. It's a private Excel document that I still have. Yeah. I never gave you the document.
No, you didn't.
I didn't give you the document.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not going to share the thing that I tested the theory with, so I think it's too far.
I haven't looked at it in a while. Were you going to say something? I was. You were going to say something juicy.
I talked myself out of it.
Wait, I don't want you to get in trouble, but now I want to know what you're going to say.
I'll tell you after.
Oh, you can't let the people want to know.
Oh, it happens all the time on podcasts that talk about shit after.
Anyway, yeah.
It was a risky move what I did do. Okay.
Yeah.
I can't tell it.
Well, the point is that, whether the algorithm was we know the algorithm worked, and it's very simple. It's just basically a point system, and whoever was the lowest at that point we would easily predict. Algorithms of not really, it's not that complicated, but it's just very simple point system that allowed us
that stayed true.
That would stay true, and it made me really think, like, is this that simple? And like, what if, for instance, the person going home that we predicted would go home, like, what if they cooked the best dish in the room?
Right.
Would they have gone home, or was it already predetermined?
That's the only part that we couldn't. That's the only part we couldn't test, because they would end up failing on the time that we thought they would fail.
That's what was so confusing. That's exactly right. That's why I'm like, wait, is were we just lucky, or were those like? It
was wild,
because the guess of who was going home that episode was purely based on performance,
right,
from the previous challenges.
Right.
But like, what if they broke that rhythm? And there were times where people, like, if there was 2 people on the bottom, one of them would the one who didn't go home would bounce back.
I wish we had the Black Apron challenges. That pissed me off so much. I wish we had those.
People wanted those too.
So bad.
Yeah,
I mean, it's on every Reddit feed. Speaking of algorithms, though, your TikTok and Instagram, I mean, you've blown these up so well. Your videos are awesome. Although I have a weird thing about watching people eat, so I close my eyes when you eat, and then I finish your video. That's a person. I even tried. I went and made a couple videos where I ate for the camera, and I was like, Michael does this. I'm gonna try it. I fucking hated it. I don't know. It's a personal thing. But how many videos do you film? Like, what's your process? Because how many do you release a week?
I don't have a rule. Like, no. There are there are weeks when I put out 5 food videos, and there are 2 weeks. Like, I don't think I've put a food video out in 2 weeks right now.
Okay, good. That makes me feel better
because I don't chase the algorithm. Which, if I'm gonna say one thing to answer what you're trying to ask, is like, I think the second you try to be viral, you've already lost.
Right. And
like authenticity and just having fun with it will always win. And if you're not like. The last couple weeks, I've been kind of having like a weird moment where I'm just like not feeling it. And so I'm not going to create content because I tried and I filmed a couple videos and I was like, I'm not having any fun in this video. I'm just going to let it be. It'll sit in the archive. Maybe I'll come back to it. Maybe I won't. But I do fully believe in this moment that the people that are just having fun and being their truest self, like in some of your new content where you're being silly and you're just having fun, and people want that. People feel that when like I'm more of a TikTok consumer than I am a creator. I love just like watching TikToks. I can get lost for 3 hours on in a TikTok hole.
Dude, a doom scroll.
And like I love watching, and when I see somebody being themselves and just having fun, like to me that's the video that I tune into.
Yeah. Okay, well that makes me feel weird because I was, I'm not trying to be viral. I want the work that I'm putting in to be worth it.
Yeah.
Like, I want people to see what I'm doing, or else what's the fucking point?
Yeah.
And so, some people are like, well, you got to post at the same time every day and blah, blah, blah.
I don't buy any of that.
Dude, I tried it, and like the results that I was getting was not adding up. And it's also like all over the place. Like,
I got any of that.
3 videos in a row. I got over 300,000 views for like, I hit 500,000 on one for the first time, and I was like, holy shit. So I kept going, and then it was like, it didn't, it was like, what? This is stupid. And so I got really discouraged, and I was like, what am I doing with it? Because I'm also like, a lot of these people that make these videos, a lot of them, and you understand the challenge of this, having to go to the grocery store and buy all this food and do all this prep, and it's
100%.
As a chef making these videos, it costs so much money. For the people that just like get in front and dance, or just like change their outfit,
or whatever, who do tech reviews, or who do whatever.
Right.
Like, there's we have a lot of work to do.
We have
as
so
food
much
creators.
There's
a lot of work to do.
So and then some of them that are making like amazing money, and they're just dancing or whatever, or doing a food or doing a review or a duet. So much easier for them. I don't know if they have full-time jobs or whatever, but like I cook all day long already for other people, and then I come home and I also grocery shop every day for my client.
Sure.
But I don't grocery shop for my videos at the same time, because I don't want to be lugging food around town. So I grocery shop on the way home, and then I film these videos at like 10, 11, 12 at night now, because I got this new kitchen with all this great lighting. I'll be up till 2 o'clock in the morning editing this video.
It's the editing.
The editing, man.
The editing.
The first one that I did with the play on the lobster roll, where I was talking to myself, it took me like 8 hours to edit that for a minute and a half.
So my process generally is, what I'll do is I'll have one filming day in the week. So I have at least one filming day of the week, and then other days I'll be doing on like client work or recipe development, and I still do like, I call it my test kitchen, but it's just my house. But it makes me feel like I'm a professional if I call it the test kitchen. Yeah. I'll test the recipes that I know I'm going to film. So I kind of have the recipe written before I actually film. Then I set up my kitchen for filming, clean it, and get the lights up and all that, and film 3 or 4 videos in one day.
Yeah.
And then just edit them and release them over time. So what I'll try to do is film like 1 to 2 weeks worth of social media content, the actual filming in one day. But it's 5-6 days of work before it's online.
Right.
And then plus I do full recipes on my blog. Like if they're not in a book, they're like fully ass on my blog. So like then I'm doing the food photography, the writing, the editing, the posting, the scheduling. Then it's got to go to YouTube, TikTok, Instagram,
it's so much.
Writing the captions, then sharing it to the store. It's an immense process that nobody sees. But what I will say is I think you've been doing a great job of just being yourself and having fun. And I think like that's really important. It sounds corny, but I think one thing that happened around content creation over the COVID time is we started seeing true icons in the culinary world. True icons like Michelin stars, the people, the Wolfgang Pucks, like in their fucking sweatpants in their kitchen, like making a scrambled egg.
Right.
Like with their own cell phone, not with a production team.
Yeah.
Like COVID brought out this idea that like even the best chefs in the world are just fucking normal ass guys and gals in their house cooking.
Except for Jose Andres. He's out saving the world.
Yeah, that's different. That's different. But what I'm trying to say is give yourself some permission to be imperfect.
Okay.
To put out food that is not super chefy or fancy, to not feel like that would invalidate you as a chef if your food was sort of just a normal ass weeknight dinner that you threw together. You know what I mean?
Can I share something with you though?
Yeah.
On and off camera, I can't not fucking make it look good. Like my client will go, they'll go, we just want something simple tonight. And I'll put my version of simple together and they laugh because it comes out. They're like, this is amazing. And I'm like, thank you. They're like, and even just as something as simple as a baked potato, like I kind of actually want to show this recipe, but like I don't poke holes in it. I just put it on the sheet pan. I put it in the oven for 10 minutes. I pull it out. I cover it in butter, and then I sprinkle salt and pepper on it, and I put it back in, and I cook it for however long it takes. And then I split it in half, and I put it on the plate. But I still somehow make it like look good. You know what I mean? It's just like it's on its own plate, or when I serve it, it's on a platter. But anyway, like with a pasta dish like cacio pepe or something, I'm still gonna like fold it up nice and put it. Yeah. Like I just can't not do it
on the big fork. But I think and you can do that quickly. There's some people, I don't want to name names, but there's some people who are really good at spending 6 hours to pretend to be a chef on social media.
Okay.
And make plating and presentation their brand. And
should I cut you off before you say too much?
And I think there's a difference between playing chef and being a chef. And to me, being a chef can be hyper elegant and hyper fancy. And I love cooking like that when that's where my head is at. But I also think that a lot of my work recently has centered around teaching and sharing food and making food accessible for people. And there's a time and a place for both. There's a time and a place for that. But the reason I bring it up for you is that your question of like content creation and speed and just how, you work so much. It's not like you're not busy. You're doing like 400 things. So when you're creating content, just make whatever it is that you're, just
actually,
make
I did
something.
one. I did one. These chicken thighs in this weird sauce that I made that turned out amazing, and I just literally put chicken thighs in a bowl and poured the sauce over them. I did that once.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll try.
And whatever that means for you, I think what I'm trying to say is like, just don't feel like you have to make things perfect all the time for social media because that day has passed.
Well,
the beautiful, perfect Instagram feeds and like that day has passed.
Okay.
Have fun with it. It's okay if it's not shot on a professional camera. Until literally, like I have built a social media platform from my iPhone 12 with a broken camera lens.
Oh my goodness.
I've just now started, like literally this month, started shooting with a real camera.
Right.
You don't need to spend thousands of dollars on
You can see the difference though.
Sure, but it's not doing any better in terms of performance.
Okay, fair. I definitely I take that. I understand what you're saying, and I'm gonna work on that. But it's like also I do anything I do because I want to do it.
Yeah.
Like
good.
Yeah,
Good. That's it.
I mean, I don't like.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm not going on there.
Don't chase an algorithm. Don't.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Definitely not chasing an algorithm. I was just trying to get insight and knowledge from you because it's like, if I'm going to do this, I do want people to fucking see it because like I'm putting a lot of work into it. Now, what they think of it, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Although I know what you're saying. I got really good advice once, very recently, because I was frustrated, like you're saying, not because I care particularly about likes or follows, in that one video is never going to dramatically define your success as a creator, but it does get frustrating when you love a dish or love a recipe. You spend time filming it, you spend hours editing it, you write a great caption, you put it out there, and then it just sort of dies. That sucks. Like, that hurts, right? And I called a buddy of mine. He's a great sort of comedic content food creator, and I was like, how do you deal with this? Like, how, that mental game of like, why do I keep doing this if, like, it doesn't work or whatever? And he said, and you'll understand this because you play in investing, but he said, think about content like you would a stock portfolio, where how it performs that day is irrelevant. If you have ownership, or you have stock in something, and that day it plummets, you should not panic sell and think it's all over. No. Just like look back at the end of the quarter, look back at the end of the month, and see how your whole portfolio is. Don't look at a single post as something to panic about, good or bad, truthfully.
Okay.
Does that, so
I love that.
So in 6 months, where is your content at?
Right.
And in a year, where is your account at? Don't think about it day by day. And that means you're letting go of pressure of one particular post performancing well or bad. So if it does really bad, don't panic. And if it does really well, also don't think you're the fucking shit.
Yeah. Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, enjoy that it went well and pay attention to that. Like, maybe, what did well about it is something you can apply, but you'll never really know why it did well either, especially with TikTok is really unpredictable.
But at least
unpredictable.
It is really unpredictable, but at least it does, like, go. Like, you can get a video to go. You know what I mean? Like, Instagram, it's so much harder.
Yeah, Instagram leans in on your existing following, and TikTok does no concern. You could have 1 million followers and your post get 500 views if it's a bad one. Like, TikTok is about new growth. Instagram's about your community.
Sure.
And so it's appealing to different audiences.
Which was wild when at the same time I had a TikTok video and a completely different video on Instagram. They both went over 300,000 in the same day.
Different videos.
Different videos.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. Yeah. Different videos on different platforms, both skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck happened?
It's also the opposite of that. It's also very rare when the same video will do well on multiple platforms.
Yeah.
It's so unpredictable. And it's not because that video wasn't good or the video that did go viral was magically better than another video you made. It's just like,
I'm excited. You know what I'm excited for? And people are going to be like, oh, he's an Elon fanboy, whatever. I'm excited to see what he does with Twitter because he tweeted out a little bit.
I'm not.
You're not?
No.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I'm excited because he has this idea for content creators to help the content creators that are in the middle that don't have the millions of followers, that only have 100,000 followers or only have 40,000 followers, and help them get the views and the dollars earned. Because he's like, they're not earning money and they're getting like. They're putting in the same amount of effort, but they're not getting the money. It's like what I'm doing. I'm putting in all this effort, but like, and my shit's monetized, but I'm making a couple $100 a month on Instagram on a video. Whereas like someone with 1 million followers who already has a lot of money posts a video and they make millions of more dollars. It's like, it's such a weird, like, it's like a 1%er thing. So he's trying to create a place.
What do you mean? He says that. What do you mean?
Well,
like, what did he like? He can say a lot of things, but if he's firing all the staff and
he's got to fire all the staff, they're not
rewriting the entire thing.
He has to.
It could also as easily just be dead in a month.
Well, here's the problem: is they were straight. Everyone on the staff knew about the percentage of bots, and they fucking lied to him about it. And he's like trying to buy the company, and he's asking, how many bots, and they're like, it's only this much, and then he finds out it's like way more.
Sure.
He's like, I don't want liars on my team. I don't know. I respect the guy in just such a way that he's like our Edison. He's our Einstein.
I think that's maybe where I just feel like I understand he's done some brilliant things, but I don't know. I don't think anything happens in a vacuum. I think I think that he's maybe like getting a little too ahead of himself. Like he's promising things that I just don't know if it's really going to be possible.
Yeah. Well,
we can only wait and see. There's a lot of showmanship to Elon Musk, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see that. He comes out as like, when they're launching a new car or whatever, and he's awkward, but he's always working. You got to see this documentary.
Oh, he's always working. I've read his book. He's a madman. He's always
You got to see this documentary that they just put out on BBC. It's all from the perspective of people that are around him. They don't interview him. They do this whole documentary, and it's all these people, like ex-wives, his mom a little bit, even his dad, who he hasn't talked to in forever, all these people, like people that you would think, like, for instance, like an ex-wife, like you think an ex-wife is not going to say anything good about this dude. And she's just like, the reason I'm the ex-wife is because I didn't come first. This guy works so much. And it's like, it's amazing. Like when you watch this documentary and see how much he works, you're like, I have not worked a hard day in my life. Like he does so much. It's great. Anyway, enough about him.
Yeah.
I'm just excited to see what happens with Twitter.
I'm not really into Twitter in general. Like I have an account, but I think I've never like even used it actually.
Yeah.
I actually like only like looked at it because of this season, because like MasterChef did some like Twitter stuff, but I didn't really get it, and like I don't really get Twitter, which is funny because like my world is social media, and that's like a big part of my career right now. But Twitter's, and maybe this is maybe he'll fix this, but to me, Twitter doesn't feel relevant to the work that I'm doing as a social media creator.
Yeah, for sure. And that's also like what I think is, I mean, that's what's nice about having all the options of platforms. And so you don't have to be on every one of them.
Right.
You can pick the one that's good for you. I mean, I resisted TikTok for a long time, but then I had to give in.
No, don't put that in it.
What is this?
I got something else to put in my cup.
Oh, what you got? You don't want water? What you got in your little goodie bag?
Nothing.
Oh.
Just a
Jesus.
little bit of bourbon. Is this allowed?
Yeah, of course it's allowed. What do you got?
A little Woodford.
Oh, all right.
A little Woodford. I keep a little.
Why don't we just drink it from the bottle? We'll put water in there.
That's trash. We're not trash.
I'm from Florida. What do you mean? Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to A Bunch of Losers with me, Derrick Fox. Please comment below if you guys have questions for any of these guests. I'm sure they would love to answer, and I'll answer as well. So let me know below. Also, you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, and then also make sure you're following us on Instagram, A Bunch of Losers with Derrick Fox, so you get the update on the new episodes. We will be launching them weekly. All right. Thanks, losers.
Action.